want to take you somewhere. I want you to picture an airplane. Not landing, not taking off, just cruising somewhere over the Atlantic. The cabin is dark because most people are sleeping and the little overhead lights are off, and outside the window there's nothing but black sky and the occasional shimmer of something might be a star or might be another plane miles away. And I'm sitting in my seat with a one-way ticket. Not a return ticket, not a round trip with a flexible change date just in case, a one-way ticket to Europe. To a life I could feel but couldn't fully picture, to a direction I trusted even though I had no roadmap for what came after I landed. And I want to tell you what that felt like, because I think it's important. I think it's the thing that will actually help you more than any advice I could give you about planning or preparing or getting your ducks in a row. It felt like everything at once. Relief, real, physical, exhale from somewhere deep relief. Like a decision that had been sitting on my chest for years had finally been made, and my body was saying, thank you. Finally, thank you. And fear, oh my gosh, let's not start with the fear. Not the panic kind though, the quiet kind, the kind that sits in your stomach and reminds you that you're doing something real. It makes you feel alive, something that counts, something you cannot take back. And excitement, the kind that makes your hands feel electric and your mind keep jumping forward to things you haven't done yet and places you haven't seen yet and versions of your mornings that don't exist yet but are about to. All of it at exactly the same time. And I want you to hear this because someone needs to say it out loud. That is what doing the right thing feels like. Not clean, not certain, not calm and confident and sorted. It feels like everything at once. And if you are waiting to feel only one emotion before you make your move, you are going to be waiting for a very, very long time. I want to talk about plans. Okay, specifically, I want to talk about the way we use plans, or the idea of having a plan to keep ourselves safe from the thing we actually want to do. Because here's what I've noticed. When women talk about why they haven't made the leap yet, why they haven't booked the flight, quit the job, started the application, had the conversation, the most common answer is some version of I just need to have a better plan first. I need to save more. I need to research more. I need to figure out what the visa situation and the healthcare and the housing and the income and about 47 other things before I can even think about actually going. And I want to ask you something about that. How long have you been planning? Because I have talked to women who have been planning their move abroad for 3 years, 5 years, a decade. Women who have spreadsheets and Pinterest boards and entire folders on their desktop full of research about neighborhoods in Lisbon and cost of living in Barcelona and expat communities in Paris. Women who know everything about the move they have not made. And I'm not saying the research doesn't matter. Of course it does. To a certain extent, knowing what you're walking to is useful and smart and responsible. But there is a point, and I think you know when you've crossed it, where the planning stops being preparation and starts being protection, where the spreadsheet stops being a tool and starts being a reason to wait, where knowing more becomes a substitute for doing the thing. And that is the moment the plan becomes the problem. Here is what I have come to believe. You do not need a plan. You need a direction. A plan says, I will do this, then this, then this, and if all those things go to according to schedule, then I will arrive at the outcome I want. A plan requires certainty. It requires the future to cooperate. It requires conditions that real life almost never provides. A direction says, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm moving toward, and I'm going to start moving and figure out the rest as I go. A direction is something you can have right now, today, in this car, on this commute, a plan. The perfect, airtight, nothing left to chance plan might never come. Are you in planning mode or in protection mode right now? If you're honest with yourself, is it planning moving you closer to the life you want, or is it keeping you safely in the one you have? I want to be completely transparent with you about what I actually had when I boarded that plane to France. Sure, I had somewhat of direction. Yes, a new life, a relationship I was building, a version of myself I was moving toward that I could feel more clearly than I could see. I had a one-way ticket, which meant I had committed. There was no hedge, no just in case, no, well, if it doesn't work out, I can always come back in 2 weeks. I had made the kind of decision that required me to figure it out. I had some savings, sure. Not a fortune, not a perfectly calculated runway of exactly the right numbers of months. Okay, maybe more or less. Just enough to land and breathe and not panic immediately. Enough to give myself time to build. And I had the knowing, that deep, inconvenient, been there for years, knowing that this was the direction my life was supposed to go, that staying would cost me more than leaving, that the risk of going was real, but the risk of not going, of looking up in 10 years from the same desk, watching the same planes, was so much greater. That is what I had. A direction, a ticket, some savings, and a knowing. I didn't have a 5-year plan. I didn't have a guaranteed income stream set up before I left. I didn't even have housing sorted from the other side of the ocean. No, not yet. Well, I mean, of course, I did have housing when I was staying in Italy with my then partner, but we were still trying to figure it out. I did not have every question answered or every fear resolved or every box checked, and it worked out because it always does. Not because I was reckless, not because I got lucky, but because I was moving in the right direction. I was willing to figure out the rest as I went, and figuring it out as you go, it turns out, is something you are far more capable of than you think what you're sitting still. Is something you are far more capable of than you think when you're sitting still. And actually, I do want to share a little story before I continue on. I remember I was flying from Minneapolis to Switzerland with one of my friends. And mind you, if you think I wasn't a really good planner, my girlfriend at the time, she did not have nothing planned. We didn't even have a place to stay. We didn't even know we were staying. And guess what? We figured it out. We were at the airport and we figured everything out. I was the one that technically kind of figured it out. The weight was on my shoulders. But I know there are people out there that cannot really live that way. But I think it tests your character and your ability to think on your feet and how to figure things out. Things are always figured out. Anyways, back to the story. So there is something that happens when you commit, when you buy the one-way ticket or hand in the notice or tell the people in your life that you're going. Something shifts. The energy that was going into planning and researching and debating and second guessing, all of that energy suddenly has somewhere to go. It goes into actually doing the thing. And doing the thing is where the magic lives. Not in the planning, in the doing. Of course, I figured out housing eventually. Figured out income in ways I couldn't have predicted from Minneapolis. I figured out community and language and how to navigate a French grocery store and what to do when your bank card doesn't work and 100 other things that felt overwhelming in the abstract and completely manageable in the actual. Because that's how it works. The doing makes you capable in ways that the planning never can. What is the one thing, just one, that if you did today would make this feel real? Not the whole plan, not every step, just the first one. What is it? And what is actually stopping you from doing it? Let's talk about the cost of waiting, because I think we underestimate it enormously. We think of waiting as neutral, as a safe option, as the responsible thing to do while we get our ducks in a row. We think, I'm not saying no, I'm just not saying yes yet. I'm being smart, I'm being careful, I'm being practical. But waiting is not neutral. Waiting is a choice. And like every choice, it has a cost. Every month you wait is a month you spend in a life that is too small for you. Every year you spend perfecting the plan is a year you don't spend living the direction. Every morning you wake up in the wrong life is a morning the right one doesn't get to start. And I know that sounds super dramatic. I know the responsible voice in your head is already pushing back and saying, that's not fair. That's oversimplified. That some waiting is necessary and wise. And yeah, sure, some waiting is necessary. Some preparation is wise. But I want you to ask yourself honestly, are you waiting because you genuinely need more time? Or are you waiting because waiting feels safer than going? Because the plan gives you something to hide behind? Because as long as you're still planning, you don't have to find out whether you're actually brave enough to do it. I asked because I asked it myself for years, and the honest answer, the one I kept not wanting to look at, was that I had been ready for a long, long time. I just hadn't been willing yet. And willing is different from ready. Ready is a feeling. Willing is a decision. You will never feel completely ready, but you can decide to be willing right now, today, on this commute. The plan is not going to save you. The direction will. And you already know your direction. You've known it for a while. The question is just whether you're going to trust it. If you knew that the perfect plan was never going to arrive, that there was no version of this that would ever feel completely safe or certain or sorted, would you go anyway? And if the answer is yes, what are you waiting for? I want you to close this episode with something very simple and very specific. I want you to do one thing today, not the whole plan, not the visa application, the savings calculator, and the neighborhood research, and the expat Facebooks. Just one thing. Maybe it's Googling one-way flights just to see what they cost. Maybe it's opening a savings account specifically labeled for this. Maybe it's telling one person, just one, that you're seriously thinking about this. Or maybe it's booking a trip to the city you keep dreaming about just to go and feel what it feels like to actually be there. Just one thing today. Something that makes this real instead of hypothetical. Because here's what I know about the woman driving this car right now. She's been thinking about this for a long time. She's done the research. She has had the feeling, and she has listened to 7 episodes of a podcast about leaving and felt it seen in every single one of them. And she's ready. Even if she doesn't feel ready, even if the plan isn't perfect, even if she has approximately 1,000 questions that don't have answers yet, she is ready because she is still here, still listening, still feeling the pull. And the pull doesn't lie. I sat on that plane with a one-way ticket, feeling everything at once, relief and fear and excitement, and all tangled up together into something that felt like the most alive I had ever been. And I want that for you. Not the perfect plan, not the certainty, not the guarantee, the aliveness, the one-way ticket, the direction you already know. Go get it. This was episode 8. Thanks for driving with me today. I'll see you in the next commute.